Hello and welcome to the show. The French are living their third week of confinement. The country is in lockdown and France 24 teams have been working hard to show you what that looks like. We start on the streets of Paris and Aubervilliers, a nearby suburb. There, homeless migrants face a new threat with the coronavirus. Armelco and Eleonore Vanel have followed a group of volunteers trying to help them out.
At dawn in the Parisian suburb of Aubervilliers, hundreds of migrants are being evacuated, bound for hotels and sports centres in Paris and the suburb of Seine-Saint-Denis. They'll be sheltered and asked to isolate, all part of the region's fight against COVID-19.
La promiscuité devenait de plus en plus forte sur ce campement et donc nécessité pour des raisons sanitaires d'agir et donc de pouvoir les mettre à l'abri.
In total, 732 migrants were evacuated, including some 30 women and children. But there are still several hundred, perhaps even thousands of others on the streets. So every evening, members of the group Utopia 56 walk around this part of northeast Paris, taking note of who's sleeping rough.
On garde ce lieu où les exilés savent qu'on peut trouver une assistance, donc on reste là, de façon à ce que s'il y a des familles, des femmes ou des femmes enceintes, on puisse les mettre à l'abri ce soir.
This Russian pair arrived in France in November seeking political asylum. In normal times, volunteers from Utopia 56 would house vulnerable people. Clearly, that isn't possible at the moment, so instead, those sleeping rough have been housed here in the local parish church. Not everybody in need ends up in these shelters, so volunteers are also organising supplies. Tonight they'll distribute 90 meals. The vast majority is food unsold and donated by local restaurants.
On a une vraie difficulté au niveau des distributions alimentaires. Les gens y ont un peu moins accès parce que la liberté de mouvement était un peu restreinte avec le confinement.
The volunteers set off on a 4-hour tour to see who needs help. And it doesn't take long until they spot this group of 6 Afghanis.
Do you feel sick? Do you cough like this?
No.
During the night, the team take note of the location of 85 other people on the streets. They'll send the details to local government to encourage them to open more emergency accommodation.
In some cases, undocumented workers who do have accommodation aren't much better off. As Karim Yayaoui and Emerald Maxwell have found out, in some shelters around Paris, social distancing is simply impossible.
In lockdown Montreuil, a suburb of Paris, most residents are respecting the confinement rules. But the walls of this building hide an unpalatable reality. Dozens of men crammed into an unsanitary space where it's impossible to apply any social distancing.
Même si ce n'était pas un coronavirus, un être humain ne devrait pas vivre comme ça. Pourquoi tout le monde reste chez eux? Pourquoi les gens ne sortent pas? Pour qu'on s'éloigne les uns les autres. Bon, imaginez-vous notre situation. Le lit superposé, 273 personnes. Si notre condition de vie reste comme ça, tout le monde sera contaminé.
A poster lists the precautions to take to avoid coronavirus, but it's totally futile in these conditions. The people living in this council-run hostel are worried and scrutinise each other closely for potential cases.
Coronavirus n'est pas de passeport, de partout. Voilà, on a peur. J'ai peur. Parce que quand tu n'as pas de papier, tu peux rien faire.
Most of these men are undocumented and often work illegally, so they can't take advantage of any of the government's new unemployment measures.
On ne travaille pas en ce moment.
Et comment ça se passe pour survivre sans travailler?
Alors vivre comme ça, c'est dur. On a des associations et des aides entourage, des voisinages qui nous ramènent à boire et à manger pour le moment.
It's a situation that has wide-reaching consequences, all the way to their countries of origin.
Imaginez, on est presque 300 personnes ici. Les familles de là-bas, ils dépendent de ces gens-là. Nous, on exige au maire, à partir de ce soir, de trouver un endroit pour tout le monde. Parce que quand on regarde la télé, tous les jours, il y a presque 200, 300 morts de plus. Et le jour, ça va nous arriver ici, c'est catastrophe.
In a France that has battened down the hatches, These men feel they've been left out in the cold, unable to protect themselves from the coronavirus.
Paris's famous Esplanade des Invalides is closed, just like the rest of France's parks and gardens. With the confinement, tension is rising in some households, and NGOs are worried that domestic violence may soar. Children are especially at risk, as Alison Sargent and Marie Schuster report.
It's an awareness campaign that's designed to shock, encouraging neighbors to call 119 if they suspect an instance of child abuse. The director of the 24-hour emergency line says the number of calls hasn't changed since the lockdown began, about 800 a day, but they have seen an increase in cases requiring urgent attention. He described several recent calls, including one from an 11-year-old boy.
Il nous raconte avoir subi des violences répétées tout au long de la journée. Il n'en peut plus. Et il parle à voix basse parce qu'il s'est caché dans la salle de bain pour minuit et demi. Il était exactement minuit et demi. Parce que c'est le seul moment finalement où il peut nous appeler.
The closure of schools not only increases pressure on families, it also takes away the main system of alert for potential abuse. Associations worry they'll learn of a surge in cases once the lockdown is over. By launching an awareness campaign, the French government hopes to make all of society more vigilant.
Seul un Français sur 4, face à une suspicion de violence sur un enfant, appelle effectivement le 119 ou le 17. Donc c'est d'autant plus important en cette période de confinement d'appeler le 119 face au moindre doute.
Parents suffering from burnout are also urged to phone 119 if they worry they could become violent.
With the confinement, our shopping habits have radically changed. Open-air markets are closed, supermarkets are sometimes difficult to access, so home delivery is booming, as Alexandra Renard and Yuka Royer report.
Romain Rosic delivers fresh fruit and vegetables to individuals in the west of Paris. He runs his own business, and for the first time, he's hired an extra truck. On this day, Rosic went to Rungis, the world's biggest fresh produce market, and bought 4 times more items than usual.
J'avais pas de place dans mon camion à moi. Avec le corona, les gens ils veulent rester chez eux. Du coup, on achète beaucoup.
The nationwide lockdown in France has increased demand for delivery services. Fresh produce is in particularly high demand.
Vous voyez, il reste quelques ananas, tout ça c'est d'hier. D'habitude, c'est 500 kilos ou 1 tonne par jour ou tous les 2 jours. Et là, j'ai acheté 4 tonnes.
Il y a du boulot aujourd'hui.
Entre 10 et 20%, voire 30% en moyenne des prix sont augmentés. Par contre, 5 ou 6 ou 7 fois plus de demandes au quotidien.
One of his partners came back to work after staying home for a while.
Moi, de base, j'étais confiné parce que j'avais un peu peur vu ce qu'on voit à la télé. Mais je me suis dit, si les livreurs ils arrêtent de livrer chez les particuliers, ça va les inciter à retourner au supermarché. Le but, c'est d'éviter que les gens sortent et c'est aussi notre travail de leur amener à manger, quoi.
They prepare different types of fruit and vegetable baskets and publish their photos on their Facebook page, ready for delivery.
Il y a déjà 60 commandes. J'ai publié il y a 10 minutes.
Streets are empty, making deliveries much easier. Rosie asks clients to wait at the bottom of their buildings and pay by check, making sure they keep their distance and don't come into direct contact with each other.
Super. Parfait, merci. Je fais plus attention de manger très sain, de manger bien, comme on ne bouge pas beaucoup, et pour renforcer le système immunitaire.
In normal times, he delivers about 20 cases per day. Right now, he's selling 10 times more.
That's it for this week's program. Thank you for watching. I leave you with Maurice Ravel's Bolero, interpreted by a 100% confined French National Orchestra. In the meantime, stay safe, stay home, and stay tuned to France 24.
1963, more than 2,000 children from Réunion Island, a French department in the Indian Ocean, were deported to mainland France by the authorities. On arrival, they were sent to live in rural areas left empty by depopulation, such as the Creuse region, where children were put to work on farms and in factories. They were sometimes made welcome, but most were ill-treated. Their parents, mostly illiterate, had given permission for them to leave without realizing they would lose their children forever. More than 50 years later, France 24 accompanied them on what for many was their first return visit to their native island.
France's stolen children, all this week on France 24.
Hi everyone, thanks to the magic of technology, we hope you'll join us for a confined edition of The World This Week. Christopher Dickey of the Daily Beast, Sylvie Kaufmann of French newspaper Le Monde, and our Delhi correspondent Mandakini Galat will be with us. Hope to see you then.